everybody, Viking fans. This is Vikcast. It's a Viking thing. You're listening to Amy Bailey and Clive Standen, and...
This week we have Athelstan himself, George Blagden. Athelstan the monk, the way into the Viking culture for all of us, the viewers at home watching. He also becomes so valuable to Ragnar and King Egbert. And we got George Blagden. So, hey, how you doing, bud?
Hi, I'm very good, thanks.
As I know you're a trained theater actor, and in theater school, we are taught we perform to the balcony, don't we? Perform to the last seat in the balcony. And I'm like you, I came from a theater background, so I sort of came on set and I was ready to perform. And, in TV you can't. And I was surrounded by all these TV actors who are doing all their lines like this. No, you don't have to do much. So you learn the hard way.
What, Travis?
Trial by fire.
Sorry,
Say
Travis.
that again?
I was saying that often on set, you'd be on set doing a scene with Travis and you'd say your line. Then you'd see him say something and you'd be
what?
like, what? What did he say? What? Travis?
Remember the read-through where Travis came in and he was... because read-throughs are embarrassing anyway because they want you to talk to the other side of the table. Sometimes there's producers on the phone that you can't see, and they're back in LA and they're listening. And I think that's the American way as opposed to the UK way, because all three of us are obviously from the UK. But in America, there's a lot of pressure on the read-through. You can get recast at a read-through. Producers are like, well, if I didn't hear his performance very well, I think he's the wrong guy for the job. So we're all trying to give almost like a radio performance of the show, and Travis just said, mumbling through his lines. You can hardly hear anything he said. And then I think, I don't know who it was actually, but one of the producers came up to him, because I was sitting next to Travis, and they were like, you need to speak up a little bit. And he went, why? And he went, because, do it like you do it on the day. He went, I am. Which he was. And it was genius, because that was what Ragnar was all about.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone quite got what he wanted to do with the character at the beginning. They were all very, very nervous. He's just mumbling through everything. And it ended up being one of the most genius characters, I think, in the last 5 years on television, what Travis did with that character.
Absolutely. Like you said, read-throughs are so scary because it kind of does feel like another audition. It's the first time you're presenting work, but you're sat in like jeans and a t-shirt round a conference table in some sort of hotel that they've all put you in with bottles of water. You're not up on the moor. Like that first thing that you see in Vikings is you two up on that moor. And I obviously I didn't see you shoot that, and I didn't see it until the show came out, but Vikings was the first thing that I ever saw of myself. Was it? I think it was the first time I'd ever seen myself on screen, I think. Anyway, but the point was, it was the first thing that I watched.
Apart from that massive movie you did called Les Miserables.
Yeah, that was what I was working out. I was like, I was just working out. No, I was working out was that first or not?
That was just a little thing.
No, but blink and you miss me in that. But Vikings was the first thing. It was like, right, I get to watch my work properly, and I remember Ep 1 of Vikings coming on and watching that, and obviously I had no idea. You read it in the script, but you don't, I think that's what I mean, is it's the first time I watched something where you have been really, really close to reading a script of something. You've read every word and you've studied it, and you don't have experience of, years of reading scripts and seeing how they're realised, so that, now if I read a script, I'm like, oh yeah, I think the result will probably end up like that in my head. But I had no concept of that, so it was so exciting. I remember watching that first ep and seeing you two do that massive fight sequence on the moor. I was like, okay, this is going to be awesome.
You thought at that point it was worth the bald spot on the top of my head.
I thought, oh my God, I've been cast as a monk, and I definitely don't look that badass. Oh God.
How was it outside of filming as well? Because I remember we'd go out for cast dinners, and you'd have to wear a beanie the whole time because that tonsure was real. You had to walk around all of Dublin with a bald patch on the back of your head for the whole of season 1, wasn't it?
Awful, yeah.
And then you started to become a Viking.
Yeah, awful. I mean, awful. I'm just going to drop a massive name here, and then I'll pick it back up. And please forgive me, but on Les Miserables, when I was working with Eddie Redmayne. No, genuinely, I got the offer for Vikings doing that film. I got the offer to play Athelstan whilst working with him, and he said to me at the time, he'd played a priest in a big series called Pillars of the Earth, I think, and he'd had to have a tonsure. And I remember saying, I've been offered this part, but I have to play a priest, and I think I've got a shaved circle in the top of my head. And he said, it'll be totally fine, dude. It's a skull cap, and then they wig you. Don't worry. You won't need to have your head shaved. Don't. And I was like, oh, phew, okay, great. Eddie Redmayne say I don't need to have my head shaved, so I won't. So, and I got to Dublin and went for my hair consultation. Consultation being the non-operative word. And sat in D, lovely D, the head of hair, in her chair. And then Johan came straight in. And
that's it. It's
well,
all over.
I didn't know at the time, like, this was my first ever, like, hair consultation, whatever one of them is. So I was exactly like you said, just wonderment and awe and naivety, like, oh, some people looking at me in the mirror and my hair. What's that? Oh, a razor. Oh, she's turned it on. Well, I'm sure that's just for the... Oh, it's gone into the top of my head. And Johan was sort of looking from the side, being like, yeah, more. Because from the profile cap, we can't see it. It's just, you have to bring it down. Like, it's got to be bigger. Like, so we can, more, keep going. And that was that. So, yeah, I mean, and then it's done and you sort of have to deal with it. And I remember coming back to London, everyone, like my girlfriend at the time and family, like just the complete shock. I think she burst into tears. But it's really shocking, like, especially in a modern day society, like, it's quite a shocking haircut. So any opportunity in Dublin when we were out for meals in restaurants, any of the guys, like Travis, any of the guys, I think Clive did it a couple of times as well. You just like, I remember a couple of times we'd be in a bar.
Anytime he got too big for his boots, when he was like talking and everyone was like, oh, he's such a cool guy. We just got behind and pulled his beanie off and be like, this massive ball patch.
Yeah. Or just talking to anyone. Like, I remember a couple of times being in a bar and being like 22 and I'm cool, I'm in Dublin and I've got my beanie on at 11 p.m. and sipping my French martini. I'm super cool. And just as like I'd strike up the initial conversation with a lovely person at the bar, the beanie would be whipped off and then that would be that. And I'd go home sober. Yeah, the things we do for our job.
You ended up having probably more haircuts, hairstyles than any of the other women, female characters in Vikings, because your transformation is ridiculous. I mean, Athelstan goes through so many transformations. You know, he goes from monk to slave to free man to trainee Viking. And then as soon as he goes over to Wessex, Egbert gets hold of him and he turns into the scholar who starts kind of translating all of these Roman articles and things, and then back to Viking. It was a kind of whirlwind. And then you get crucified, and it's a pretty immense acting journey for any actor. I mean, the arc.
Yeah, no,
how does it feel when you suddenly started having to kind of go from timid Athelstan the monk to, blood raging Viking? I remember you had your first battle. That was quite a story.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, and I've always said to people since, start of season 2, really working on season 2, that it was such a gift of a character. I think there was a joke going around on set that I was making requests, like weekly requests of what do I want to be next month? What should we turn Athelstan into? And I genuinely wasn't. It was just such an amazing character arc, and I've I've often said I will find it really hard to find a job where I get to play one role and get to do so much sort of range and scope and so much of a journey that a character gets to go on. It really was such an amazing gift of a part for that. And so much fun as well to kind of go through that process. And then season 2, it genuinely felt like school. Like I'd been called up to like the top football team or something. Like they've let me grow my hair long. I didn't grow as in put in extensions. Yeah. And like hold an axe and a shield and I'm going to battle. Oh my God. And I think there was that first battle, Clive, that you're referencing. I think I still thought that it was all pretend. Like I think this will be fun. We'll do a bit of swooshing and it was like a full-on battle. I obviously didn't know at the time that they had like all of the UK's best stunties all in one place in one location. And when action shouted, it's just like, well, we'll just go for it for real, shall we? And
Yeah.
some of the footage that I mean, it's not all used in the final thing, but it's just me like in total shock about like, he's really hitting me.
He hurt me.
Yeah. Like, he's actually like barging against me in that shield wall. And I'm like actually falling over. It was so amazing. I remember like, I think one of the first shots, and they ran them for like 3 or 4 minutes in those big shield walls, and they just kind of find whatever they can with the camera. I remember the first time they shouted cut, everyone just went silent, and you could just hear this like high-pitched giggling from somewhere in the shield wall. I'll never, because I remember like everyone just being like, what the hell is that? And I was just there on the floor on my back, just being like, like having the time of my life. It was so amazing.
I remember Travis coming home as well, going, it was like life mirroring art. It's like, because after you've done a few of those battles, you know that you're going to be doing it all day. So you kind of conserve your energy, and it's kind of, you just let it out when you need to. And it's like, obviously like being a real battler. When you're marching across a field, you got to keep your energy. You're not going to scream and shout and run. By the time you clash swords with someone, you're tired. But I remember Travis, like, from the moment he got out of the minibus in the morning, he was like, we're going to fight, we're going to fight, we're going to fight. It's that kind of thing. It's like, by halfway through it, it's like, you're going to learn the hard way. It's like a baptism of fire, some of those days on the battlefield.
No, definitely.
I remember, George, was it season 4 when Athelstan had his big transformation? I'm thinking it was season 4. And we all stayed out we were all at the Druids Inn or something, this beautiful hotel near the set. And I saw you for the first time, and you'd like doubled in size. Not chubby, like muscles. And I was like, and I hadn't read what your journey was going to be. I didn't realize you were going to turn into a Viking and all that. And you were like, you were at the gym and you were pumping. You were just like buffed up. And I was going, oh, I guess Athelstan's going a different path this season.
That's very sweet of you. I actually hadn't. I'd got a lot smaller, and I didn't realize this. And Clive probably know. I mean, from like I'd never been fitness crazy, and let me explain why that happened. So why that happened was between season 2 and 3, I got a massive long email from Michael. It was on season 3, and between season 2 and 3, I got a massive long email from Michael explaining what was going to happen in season 3 to my character. If you've seen it, you know. And he said also, before that happens, I'm writing a kind of love story for you, and
you're gonna have to go shirtless.
Get to the gym, like he's basically like, get to the gym, mate.
Look good naked.
No, I think he actually referenced a scene in season 2. In season 2, again, spoiler, sorry if you've not seen the show, but in season 2, my character gets crucified. And in season 2, I obviously was my pre-fitness self. And it was just in a loincloth. And to the point where, I'm not going to name who it was, but someone on the crew, pretty influential. I was up there on the cross, like, tied in, and between takes you've just got to sit up there like and
I gotta pee.
Yeah, someone came up and was like, mate, you should probably suck in a bit, just suck in, just because no one wants to see that.
No one wants to see a fat Jesus.
Literally, yeah. And I was kind of like, no, whatever. But then in the email that Michael sent, he was like, yeah, so you should probably eat more salads and go to the gym. And at the time, I was really like, this is outrageous. I'm not one of these like Chris Hemsworth type. I'm on a show called Vikings, but I still was like, I'm not one of these like Chris Hemsworth types, and I'm not gonna like change my body shape for anyone. And then I calmed down and thought, actually, you know, I pride myself on being able to do what someone asks of me, a director or a writer, and this is just another thing that someone's asked me to do, and why not? So then I obviously went completely mental with it. I did 9 workouts a week and was 0 carbs, and because also Michael had sent this email like 7 weeks before before the season started, and I spoke to a PT friend of mine. I was like, "What do you think? Do you think this is?" I think I actually showed him a photo of Clive or Travis. I was like, "Is this achievable in 6 weeks?" And he just he literally like laughed at me. It was like, "No, it's not. That's years." But so I didn't actually put on any size. I just took everything off, like all of the fat, basically. It's amazing what just not eating rubbish can do. But it was. I loved it. It was the most amazing like life experience. I highly recommend it to anyone. Like, you don't have to go crazy at the gym, but just cut out processed sugar. It was like I had withdrawal, like I had headaches and like sweats, and it was crazy. Like, I fully had to sort of wean myself off processed sugar. And after about 2 weeks, I felt like so energetic. It was amazing. So yeah, that was that.
You brought up then the crucifixion scene, because I think there's a few moments in Vikings which are just those moments that just sit with you, and every character has them. But for you and for the show, I think that crucifixion scene with Athelstan is one of the most memorable moments in the whole series, not just the season. But for us as well, it was funny because you had a lot of extras that were there all day. It was blazing hot that day. I mean, you talk us through what it was like to film that, because it must have been harsh. But I mean, it all culminated for us that the audience wouldn't have seen in a rendition of a Life of Brian song. And I just think, it's a memorable moment for the fans, but it's also a memorable moment, I think, for all of involved for you, because you talk us through it.
Yeah. So I mean, that is definitely one of those scenes where the reality of shooting it was very different to the result that you ended up watching. I remember watching it, and even, I was playing it, but even watching it, they cut away to lots of other kind of violent close-ups that, when you're filming in isolation, things like a close-up of a nail going through your hand, it's so technical on the day, filming things like that you forget that when it's all pieced together, how powerful it can be. And it really, it was, I think they did the sequence really, really well. They the way they put it together, and the music and the tone. I really enjoyed that challenge of kind of presenting someone in, that character in that state. But yeah, there was also some levity on set, where we would be sat for 10 minutes between takes, where they were changing the cameras around, and I'd still be up on the cross. I think people started shouting requests for songs and things. That's where that came from. And then, of course, The Life of Brian had to come out, and
which was banned in Ireland for like 20 years or something like that. It was only just that recently, when we were filming, that they were allowed to show it in cinemas again. I think that's why the Irish extras got really behind that. Did you not know that?
No, I never knew that.
Yeah, it was banned.
What?
It was never allowed a cinema release because of its religious connotations and how offensive it was to the church. That in Ireland, they never got it at the cinemas. And then I think when we were there in season 1, they'd passed a law saying it was the first time that you could watch it in the cinema.
Are you kidding?
So, it was a funny moment anyway, but these guys have probably hadn't even seen the film unless they'd watched it pirated or something.
That, like moments in your life where you're like, everything just drops in. There were so many things said on the day, and like Ken, the director, Ken Girotti, was like really impressed that I'd done it, and I was like, all right. I mean, I just sung a verse from like. I mean, it's not that like, yeah.
We have to root out the footage so people can see it. Actually, this is what we we got to get it on.
Someone
Vikcast.
must have it. Who has that?
I can't
in
remember
B-roll?
who. Yeah,
Someone does.
somewhere. I might have it. So I'll have a look. Maybe send it to you guys. But wow, I did not know that. God, I wish I'd known that.
He's not the Messiah. He's just a very naughty monk.
Yeah, yeah. That was so brilliant. There was, lots of characters watching with like spears, but sort of like everyone swaying in the field like this underneath me as I was singing it. It was a lot of fun.
When you're feeding in the dumps, don't be silly grumps. Remember, the last laugh is on you. And
I think Vikings is such a funny example of how when you watch the show, it can be brutal and tense, and it's just this incredible. But on set, I think we were known for one of the funniest prank sets going at the time, and we're just endless pranks. I remember this wasn't on set actually. I remember one time back at that hotel, this car drove up. We were all kind of hanging out, and then maybe it was your birthday. In the boot / trunk of the car was George. They opened it up and someone had put you in there. And then Travis was really mad because everyone was like, let George out. Because you were really drunk or something. Was that your birthday? I don't remember.
So, a couple of things. I put myself in there. No.
What?
It was actually my final day filming.
Yes,
no,
that's right.
I'd wrapped that day and said goodbye to the character Athelstan, and I think Travis, someone, or maybe Clive, someone suggested...
Travis was the ringleader. I was there, but Travis was the ringleader.
No, but someone was like, let's go back to the hotel and have drinks for George last night. Right, let's all get in the cars. And I think, this just sums up my experience of 3 years on Vikings. I think everyone had got into a car and there were I'd gone back for my shield or something that I'd left on set and came back out, and there were no seats in the cars that were heading to the hotel. And I can't remember who it was who was at the boot. The boot was open, someone was putting bags in, and it was probably Travis. And I was like, I'll just get in the boot. Like, it's fine. What's wrong with me? Honestly, what's wrong with me? And I was like, yeah. And I think I just saw this, that glint in his eye. He was like, you sure? I was like, yeah. It'll be fine. Right? It'll be fine.
And this is a boot or a trunk of a car that it closes. It's not like there's any windows or anything. This is a proper trunk. Which is, once it's closed, it's darkness.
Yeah. It's like hostage situation. Yeah. Not fun.
Yeah, literally. And I'd never been in that environment before and thought it was a good idea. But you don't realise you've never been in that environment before until you're in it, and you're like lying there like, yeah, I'll be fine, Travis. And you've just got like that shot of him at the boot, like holding the thing like, you're an idiot. Close the boot.
And Pulp Fiction-esque.
Like, yeah, awful. Immediately pitch black. You realise, this is pretty dark and I'm actually quite disorientated and I can't really hear things properly. Well, this is quite scary. And I didn't have my phone with me for some reason. I don't know where. I must have been in a bag so there was no way to put on a light or anything. And whoever came up with it, it was honestly, it was genius, whoever came up with this, because we set off and I knew the route. It was maybe 15 minutes along a motorway, basically. So we got up to speed and I was like, we're now on the motorway because there's quite a loud sound of, tarmac whizzing past at 70, 80 miles per hour. And then we came off too early. We were going
round roundabouts over and over again.
I don't know where we went, but we stopped like way too early, and all the car stopped, engine went off, all 4 doors opened. I could hear the doors open and close, and I was like, right, everyone's got out. They're going to be letting me out. Nothing. And so, I wish there'd been like a microphone or a camera in the boot that was recording me. Like, guys, please, guys, are you there? Like, no response. And then I just hear one door open and close, car starts, speeds off, and I'm like, right, everyone's got out, someone's got back in, and I don't know where we're going now. And then another 5 minutes later, the car stopped.
Did you hear what was said outside, though? Did you actually catch that? Because what we did is we were all driving in the car, and we got it, but Linus rang us on the way to find out where we were going for drinks. And then when we got out of the car, it was Linus outside who was pretending to be part of the IRA.
I thought there were 2 steps to this.
Where's the body? That's alive. You said a dead body, and he's out in the back just doing this kind of like terrorist accent. And then we all got in the car and went really silent. So it was as if it was just this guy driving. But anyway, that was what it meant to us.
No, I thought it was 2 parts. I was about to get to that bit, the scary bit where the car stops and like. But I think you're right. Everyone got out, and then I heard the whole conversation. It happened happened. I thought, I genuinely thought someone was about to open the boot and put me in a body bag and bury me. Because I can't remember who was. I don't think it was you, Clive. Someone whose voice I knew was talking to. I think maybe Andrew, the production assistant, was talking to this Irish man who I knew hadn't got into the car at the studio. And they were just like being like, yeah, do what we discussed, yeah? Just get rid of it, like, quick, like, super seriously. And I was literally like banging on the boot, like, this is not funny, let me out right now. And then, yeah, got back in the car and just
That's what I remember. That's when Linus was like, he's alive.
Yeah.
You said a dead body.
Honestly, I mean, and, you know, when I've told people this story previously, believe me, it's not been often, but when I've told this story to people previously, like mates, or everyone's just been like, what's wrong with you? Why did you get in the boot? So yeah, that was the start of
You don't know Travis Fimmel.
Well, I remember Travis got so mad because when you guys were at Druid's Glen, he wanted to keep going. And all of us were like, that's enough, get George out. And he got so mad that he stalked home to his apartment.
Yeah.
He was all mad at us
He
for
said,
letting
leave
you
him
out.
in there for 10 more minutes. And we were like, no, you got to pop the trunk now. You got to let George out. It's been funny, but it's not funny anymore. And he was like, 10 more minutes. And we were like, no. And he just stormed off.
I think probably I think probably I was left in the boot. Yeah, because then this Irishman in my head had driven me somewhere, stopped the car and got out. So it was just silent. And I think I'd probably been there for about 14 hours. In reality, it was probably about 3 minutes. But, you know, like you're in the boot of a car and you're like, I've not eaten in 17 hours and I'm starving. I can feel myself like... But yeah, I think then we went into the hotel and someone ordered shots. And yeah, we all ordered shots. And everyone's was water apart from mine. So
Yeah.
that was good fun.
Yeah.
Another round.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
And then, but I think a lot of it, though, with Travis is it's part of your bonding, wasn't it? Bonding was Ragnar and, well, in his way, it was part of Ragnar and Athelstan's bonding as the slave and the master. And so you did get the brunt of his gags and his practical jokes, I think.
Yeah, it was my final day, so that didn't need to happen, but sure. No, you're right. You're right.
But I mean, there was a time, didn't he like, he glued your phone to the kind of the roof of the studio, which you needed like a cherry picker crane to get it. And right at the end of the day, when everyone had gone home and the guy that works the crane had gone home, you were like, "Where's my phone?"
He'd do that a lot. Like he would do that a lot to people's phones. Like someone would just be out having a cigarette break on their phone, and he'd just walk past them, grab their phone, and throw it over the roof of the studio. And you know, like it's just so extreme. I was on the phone to like my mum. What? Now my phone's smashed on the other side of the studio. What's going on? But he is quite an extreme guy. So yeah, no, God, I love him. But, yeah, and then in season 1, like the initial part of my character being in Kattegat, I had a rope around my neck for quite a few sequences in Ep 2 or 3 because I was a slave. I came off the boat with a rope around my neck and I was tied up in Kattegat, and then he dragged me home to his farm with a rope around my neck. So I had a rope around my neck for about a week filming. And Travis would just
Oh my God.
tie me to Travis would just tie me to things between takes. Like we'd be in between shots, and I'd get up to stand up to move, and I'd be like, Travis has tied me to the dried herring again. Brilliant.
Oh shit.
I mean, I think George actually from my point of view, I think your character is the most fun character for everybody, and the one that people want to know more about.
Well,
I think you and Athelstan and Ragnar were the most shipped characters, I think, in any. Probably behind Legolas and Aragorn in fantasy.
Do you guys remember that drawing that somebody did? That very homoerotic drawing of Ragnar and Athelstan. It hung in Dee's. Are you shaking your head 'cause you don't want to remember? I remember. I certainly do remember. It was in Dee, our hairdresser's room, and it was right there on the wall, and we all looked at it every day.
I remember going through the fan fiction and suddenly just getting, when you're not meant to troll the internet. And I remember getting obsessed when I suddenly went, oh my God, people are writing like romantic, erotic stories about these characters like Rollo and Quentrith, or, like Lagatha and Athelstan. And I suddenly it was this, I just went down this horrible rabbit hole of like, this is a story between Ragnar and Athelstan, and then these pictures just jumped.
Very graphic pictures.
I remember those pictures because I drew them, so no, but I remember those pictures. How can you not? They're burned into my memory. But no, I was very lucky to play that character. At that time, kind of the birth of television as well, this golden age of television, and play that character opposite that incredible cast. And that is and I don't want to sound like disingenuous or I'm blowing smoke up people's bums, but genuinely, like, Vikings is one of those shows where you're not tuning in to watch one character's journey. Genuinely, that first season presents itself as like the best kind of ensemble show. Some ensemble shows that shall remain nameless, you kind of have too many characters to follow. But it just got that balance really well of like, we're going to follow 3 or 4 different storylines of different people that we love. And it, I just loved it.
To follow on from because we talked about your last day in the prank, it'd be nice if you talked us through your last day on set and the scene that you had to film and what it was like saying goodbye to everyone, because then that'll link in with his pranks afterwards.
Yeah. I have to be totally honest. I can't actually remember. And I promise you, I have definitely tried to remember what the scene was. All I know is it was basically, I think it was something pretty pedestrian. I mean, I think the last thing that I shot, I was stood in the background of a much bigger scene happening in the Great Hall. One of those scenes that happens in the Great Hall and there's 17 of us and they have to get like footage of all 17 of us. So we're there for about 3 days and just sort of nodding at other people talking. I think it was that. And I think I was in the Great Hall. But the lovely thing about that was that it was in the Great Hall and there were lots of people. And I don't think I'd even clocked, like, that thing where you know it's your last day because it is on the schedule, but you don't quite know when they're going to be done with you specifically and the coverage. And it was just really lovely because everyone was there. And and then they did that thing that they do with anyone who raps on the show and kind of presented me with a shield, the shield that Athelstan had, and the entire cast had signed it. I still have it. I wish I had it with me now, but you've got yours there, yeah. And like some of the messages are just incredible that people wrote on it, and it was a very, very special time. I burst into tears. I mean, and I've never done that in any other job, I don't think, when I've closed off a character. Because I think I knew at that point as well that I had been part of something quite special and had got to do it with such an amazing character, so it was very special. Yeah.
So good.
George, thank you so much for coming and talking to us. We need to get you in again. This is only just the beginning. I feel like we're just rubbing the surface of your experience in this phenomenal show. You were in it from the beginning, part of the original cast, and we have to have you back on if you would take some time and come back on.
Absolutely.
It'd be great.
Of course, no problem. And I promise not to waffle as much the next time. And we might actually get to some more interesting questions than being locked in the back of a car.
No, the waffling is what the fans need and deserve.
Good.
So please, more of that. We love you dearly.
Amazing. Thank you so much, guys. It's been so much fun. And thank you for asking me. It's lovely to see you.